Welcome back, everyone, to another Hearts of Iron 4 semi-mod spotlight, more like a update spotlight. Anyway, this time it's gonna be Black Ice. Now, me and Black Ice have a bit of a history. Now, the first time the mod came out for Hearts of Iron 4, I thought it was pretty terrible. It's gotten some improvements overall. It just released a basically big update, version 2.5, I believe it's called. So big, in fact, that they changed how Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know that. Anyway, basically changed the workshop page even. So, we're going to be quickly going over what they did overall. Now, not only for 2.5, just in general, since release. Now, there's a lot of new laws and government tabs, and there's a lot of new laws for manpower as well, lots of new politics. We'll be going over those a little bit later. The main changes are when it comes to the units, production, and just in general, armies and templates and that. So basically, the way Black Ice works is that it tries to make everything as realistic, whatever that means, as possible. And what then that ends up sort of meaning is that, so for example, you have infantry, militia, light infantry, marines, and garrisons, whereas normally you would have infantry, marines, and that's it. And every one of these, of course, has their own uses, some of them more useful than others. And where it gets really, really confusing sometimes is with the artillery. Of course, there's artillery, there's medium artillery, there's heavy artillery, pack artillery, motorized pack artillery, motorized artillery. Yeah, there's a lot of different types of artillery, but overall, it's just adding to the variety of units that you can pick from. And then with armor, of course, we are right at the start, but you have tanks, light tanks, etc., etc. What makes the whole tank deal sometimes a little bit difficult to interpret are these unique trees. We'll be going over them later. So that's pretty much the main thing that I still dislike about the mod is that it just makes such a huge deal out of small things like differences between, well, I guess infantry tanks and light tanks does make sense considering how the pre-war doctrines for tanks worked. But for some things, like the types of infantry, etc., it's just sometimes a little bit too complicated. Also, it tends to insert a little bit too many pieces of equipment, making the production screen a little bit of a mess to deal with. So for example, you have, of course, normally to produce infantry in Hearts of Iron, let's go to an infantry division, you just have infantry equipment. But here, you also need field uniforms, heavy machine guns, and mortars. Which, I mean, I can understand mortars and to a certain degree also heavy machine guns. But uniforms is just like, really? Does it really add anything? No, I don't think, at least. And I've been criticized for disliking that, but who gives a shit? Anyway, hey, if you would like to produce uniforms, it's your job. I mean, at least now, the uniforms are one thing. I think I remember in one instance of this mod, I think the boots were separate equipment for some reason. Anyway, overall, just very, very complicated. At the same time, though, it does add a few unique and I believe good things, such as HQ equipment. I think HQ equipment is a good idea because then, depending on how much you have when it comes to stockpile. Alright, we don't have that yet. Hold on, let's just let the game run a little bit so that it gives us some vent. It gives you modifiers depending on how much equipment you have in reserve, which gives you certain bonuses. For example, this would be Green Army Command, less than 1,000, and it gives us, of course, some penalties. But if it were to be, for example, more than 5,000, we get Veteran Army Command, etc., etc. So I like those things. This hasn't changed too much. What they have added is a meter where essentially the more of one type of unit, so for example, divisions, planes, and ships, the more you have of that, the easier it is for you to research, which makes sense. Although what I would also like to see is the more of something you have, the more political power you have to pay to actually maintain it. That I would like to see a negative to having a massive navy, for example, because of course historically, for example, Britain did have to pay a pretty extensive price. Well, I mean, over there was money, but that's not a thing in Hearts of Iron. So overall, I would like to see some penalties for that as well. Now, going to the big changes, they have made a huge section for laws. Now, I'm just going to list them very quickly. There's national unity, which is, in my opinion, a little bit weird because it's not like, you know, there was something called already. It's just called national unity already. But that, well, a common theme of these is that they all pretty much increase or decrease production efficiency and political power. Also, consumer goods factories factor in quite a lot, but some of them do have unique things. For example, over here, if you're a homogenous nation, you increase ideology drift defense. Then you have security policy, essentially, I guess you could say rights, like civil liberties, of course. And that's also about ideology drift defense, political power gain, national unity, those kinds of things. And of course, all of these, depending on what government type you have, can be restricted or allowed. That's pretty obvious. I do have issues with some of them, but this is not the time to complain. Press laws, again, more political power. Also trade opinion over here, although trade opinion lately is kind of weird. Foreign subversive activities, the usual stuff. Then education, this is quite a good one. Of course, more education equals less factory output, less recruitable population, but of course more research time and better planning for your officers. Of course, reflecting how much you're investing your population in one area or the other. Tax policy, that is mostly about just construction speed and factory output. And then some laws require certain levels of taxes. Now, I have no idea how that works. For example, let's see. Excellent investment requires high taxes. Actually, okay. It's actually pretty straightforward. Good job. Trade policy, of course, just the standard one from the standard game. I believe they changed a few modifiers, actually. So, for example, export focus seems to decrease your research time by less. And then if you have, for example, limited exports of closed economy, you have a bonus towards producing synthetic refineries, which is an interesting little thing. And it also increases your support for fascism and communism. And the opposite, of course, free trade decreases that support. Okay. Then you have tariffs. Wouldn't that be the same thing as trade policy? I mean, tariffs are pretty much included in trade policy, but anyway. So of course, pretty much more of the same. As you can see, just lots of modifiers towards construction speed, production efficiency. Actually, political power gain seems to be a little bit more important when it comes to tariffs. And foreign investment, that is also pretty much just about your economic output versus your national unity and political power. So if you have banned foreign investors, you receive negatives to your economic modifiers and you receive positives to political power. Then nationalization. This one's a bit of a weird one because if you nationalize more things, you gain factory output bonuses over here, but you decrease your production efficiency cap. So it's almost like it's the same, kind of, not really, because see over here it's plus 10% and then minus 10%, so it's kind of like, really, isn't the end result kind of the same? I don't know. Except you have, of course, some other things like research time being increased for central planning, and resource gain being increased for central planning, and then kind of plummeting for, actually no, not even plummeting, just being standard for private control. And then just this one. This one's the obvious, normal, just like the other one. Then for manpower, now this is weird. For some reason, these are laws in government, and then you go to manpower and you think, oh, it's gonna be things about manpower and how to use manpower, training, that kind of stuff. But then you also have financial operations and interventionism or foreign policy. So clearly they just didn't have enough space up here to put foreign policy and financial operations, and they just plopped them down into manpower. Anyway, so foreign policy, of course, war goal, time, and political power, and all the things that you would expect, volunteer limit, etc. Financial operations is actually just trade deals, construction speeds, and output. Of course, this is kind of... Wow, print money is actually really good. Like, print money is actually insane. For some reason, printing money is just really, really good. Oh, okay. Then you just go to... these are the readiness levels, right? So you're either very mobilized, in which case you train a slight bit quicker and you get some pretty big malices to other things. So overall, I would say don't do that. I mean, oh, actually, if you're not mobilized, you get some penalties to organization. So no, okay, do mobilize. Okay, I like that. So the more mobilized you are, and it doesn't really cost a lot of polypower either. So the more mobilized you are, of course, you get some malices. But if you're not mobilized, well, you're not gonna have a good time when it comes to military things. Then is where it gets a little bit weird. This is the conscription level. Then there's age brackets for recruitment. Then there's, of course, women. Although women, you cannot recruit them into the army. You can only send them into the factories, which is, of course, just a tiny bit, tiny bit annoying. And foreign recruitment, just pretty regular stuff for subjects. Training standards, of course, this is pretty much like Hearts of Iron 3, I think. You just want the highest anyway, because it's like, who gives if you're going to be training for 20% longer? It's like, it's going to be 10, 20 days for 15% organization. Yeah, I'd rather have that. And then officer training, again, why would you not have that? I mean, of course, if you have more officer training, you have less research time, because more of your, I guess you could say, best and brightest are going towards the army rather than, for example, in school. So overall, there's that. Then there's politicians, really now. They could have just said advisors. No, they have to say politicians. So you have a head of state, a foreign minister, an interior minister, head of intelligence, economic minister, another economic minister, and then 2 political advisors. So what I really like about this is that I actually really, really like what they just did. Is that essentially they all have traits. And these traits give them, of course, one type of bonus or the other. And then they kind of work together or work against each other. So what's really, really nice is that, for example, is there anything... maybe I'd have to go towards Germany to look at that better. But yeah, overall, for example, your head of intelligence could be a conservative, and then he would give you a slight drift towards conservatism. I always like when they do that. And then they would have a functional trait that would actually increase their effectiveness at the actual job. So I like that overall. I think it just gives another dimension to the advisors, and I like that they gave you advisors at the start, or I guess a cabinet at the start, so that it kind of feels like, you're not just building up your whole government from zero, because, of course, countries have governments pretty much all the time, so it's not like they... it felt a little gamey to upgrade, quote unquote, your cabinet and filling it up from nobody to everybody in that way. And yeah, also they can have some like additional traits other than their political leaning and their I guess functional trait, I called it. For example, this Ernest Bevin is an anti-fascist, so he would decrease your fascism support. Let's see if I can find somebody else. Somebody else, somebody else. I don't really see too much. Not here, at least. Well, if we go to Germany, I am 100% sure that we will find something like that, because I was looking at it before. There's some, of course, more unique ones, and it's going to take a while to tag switch because there's a lot of things to load. For example, if we go ahead and look at Canaris, he's a schemer. Now, I'm not 100% sure what that means. It doesn't really have a... Yeah, it doesn't really have effects. It will. And then, you see, there was somebody here that was supposed to be different. Conservative, anti-fascist. Well, so you have a chance. Just gonna explain it very quickly. I just can't find it. You have a chance of actually somebody being, for example, corrupt or very powerful, and then you would get more political power cost towards removing them, which is actually quite interesting. And yeah, for example, corrupt kleptocrat over here, Hermann Göring, of course, as always. Then let's just stay with Germany because they've got more stuff, of course. Then you have your standard research. Oh, political advisors, of course, are just drift towards one ideology or the other in political power. Pretty normal stuff. Oh, so they also appear to have... Yeah, for example, this guy, Göring, because he's powerful over there, due to their powerful influence, removing this person will trigger an additional cost of 100 political power. So that's just, in general, pretty nice. Anyway, then going down, you have, of course, your regular designers, pretty much normal. Of course, integrated with the unique trees, unique tanks, and unique planes, and unique ships for countries. That gets into some very, very complicated modifiers, etc. So, for example, you have Man, that only gives you bonuses for its Panther, because that's what they historically designed and produced. But then, for example, go to Krupp, it gives you bonuses towards pretty much everybody, because they use the guns, and etc, etc. So that's overall pretty much what you expect. Now, of course, this is pretty much the same also for ships, except for some countries, I believe, you have also bonuses towards specific ships for certain research companies. Let's go ahead and check out the United States. Let's go ahead and check them out. No, it does not seem like it. See, what I would have liked to see is, for example, Newport News giving you bonuses towards the Essex class. Are there unique ships? Yes, there are unique ships for the US, so that's pretty nice. Overall, they expanded all these trees from the last time that, of course, got released, and I looked at it. I mean, obviously, when it got released, it was still like very, very much incomplete. They've added new classes of ships such as escort carriers and actually seaplane tank tenders. They overall just improved this whole system that they had going. I believe the stats are also a little bit reworked. They had more time to fix the balancing. Yeah, seems like at least now they're a little bit different overall. Yeah, I remember that, for example, a lot of tanks just had the same stats, which was... looks like some of these technologies still aren't, you know... They may trigger events. I hope they do. They may trigger events. Let's try it. Because if not, then those techs don't have a... Really? Really? I think I just typoed. Okay. Right. So what does all of this do? well, it didn't trigger any events for sure. So unfortunate. It might have done something. You know, nope. Tank radio. See, I was thinking that it may have done new things to the create variant system, which is still, by the way, really good. But it does not look like it. Anyway, overall, they do... looks like they did some things to here as well. Okay, so there's a lot of different upgrades for ships too. Of course, the graphics are overhaul. For example, the way states are shown, they just revamped that. They added new states all over the map. I believe also China got a pretty big rework when it comes to the states. Maybe Japan. Nah, it looks like they're still pretty much the same as vanilla. So that's all, of course. Whoa. Looks like Liujiang has a little bit of a piece that's on the other side. Overall, that's all well and good. Of course, they added a few colonial nations. I mean, this is pretty much everybody's favorite thing to do, so probably understandable. Actually, no, they didn't. Just Tunisia and Morocco, right? So Tunisia and Morocco, then of course Syria exists, Iraq, which still for some reason, ooh, what the fuck? Still for some reason isn't a puppet of the British. Not sure why. And then if we go ahead and look down, military staff is pretty similar, except they added a Supreme Commander tab. That's really good. I like that a lot. Not too many modifiers from that, but I like that they added this. It's pretty good. Did they change the military high command? It does not look like it, but I mean that's a system that worked just fine before, so yeah, overall not too bad. And then they still have this factory system, very good. I like it. It hasn't been changed too much, and I don't think it really needs to be changed. I like the way it gives you bonuses the more of one type of factory you have, and then it scales up. So overall, pretty normal stuff. They haven't added any new buildings. Again, the production screen is still a little bit insane, and I'm not 100% liking it. Then, yeah, you still get, like, templates for researching things. So, for example, if we go ahead and look... Yeah, this is gonna research things, right? Am I gonna get templates for researching some of these? Let's see. That does not look like it. But definitely with, for example, Germany. Oh. You get historical templates for divisions that are hashtag historically accurate and hashtag realistic. So you can, of course, do the maximum roleplay and, well, also compensate for the fact that the AI is probably not going to be able to handle all of this. I mean, they claim that the AI can handle all of this, but I don't believe it. I mean, it can earlier, so for example, as you can see here, by researching the Panzer II-C, I get the Leichte Division 1936, as opposed to the Panzer Division 1936. And the difference is that this one has less Panzer IIs, more Panzer Is. It's just more light overall and cheaper to build. I like that. I like that a little bit. It just gives you a lot of nice stuff. And then you get a lot of events, especially for Germany, a little bit for the Soviet Union, and I believe also some for UK, Italy, maybe France, maybe United States, maybe Japan, where you get the formation of historical divisions and historical templates that then get added, and so they're like templates that get added, and then you fill them up with equipment subsequently, and that's all nice and fine. And we're going pretty much into the 30 minutes of this. I will not go too much further than that. So overall, still after about like a year, maybe, yeah, about a year since Black Ice was released the first time, I still have the original issues that I had with it. I mean, Overall, it's got some problems when it comes to the production management, but I really like what they did with the laws in some ways. In some ways, I don't like it. I also really enjoy that the overall tidiness of the mod. I mean, clearly it's been polished a little bit more than some of the other ones, and overall, it's got its own kind of graphic feel that I enjoy. All the icons are extremely high quality, so that's good. Focus trees, some of them were added, for example Belgium, but most of these, as you can see, you may recognize these because of course they were ported in from other mods. I mean, this is really Black Ice's, I guess you could say, shtick to make focus trees. They just import ones that they like. One thing that I kind of dislike about this is that they added all these ideologies that I don't think really fit too much, because then you would probably want in at least focus trees that have political options in them. Maybe you would want them, you know, to include paths for these new ideologies, for example socialism, whatever that's supposed to be, liberalism, again, whatever that's supposed to be, as opposed to conservatism. I mean, of course these are different, but in Hearts of Iron 4, for all intents and purposes, all these could just be rallied under democracy. But hey, overall, I guess it's just normal stuff. And then they split up non-aligned into authoritarian and monarchist. Again, as you'd expect, could have just been kept as one, but overall, they just decided to change it up. And looks like King Carol is bugged. Interesting. So yeah, overall, lots of improvements. Some things that looks like they just, you know, it's their design philosophy. They are not gonna change it anytime soon, as much as I may dislike it. Now, very quickly, let's go over some of the bigger changes when it comes to the last update that I haven't covered already, because you cannot really see them. I mean, they changed up the events. Black Ice does have quite a lot of events that are sometimes very good, sometimes they have surrender events for certain countries now. So for example, like Vichy France, Case Anton, Operation Torch, and then some surrender events for, like, for example, the Dutch and Denmark. Overall, yeah, they just added a bunch of those events. They reworked some of the unique, I guess you could say, tech trees for the tanks. They added a Great War Army Doctrine tree, which I guess it's fine to just to represent, various different advancements that certain countries got in and after the Great War. Let's see, for example, if we tag over to, I don't know, Iraq. Is that Iraq? If we tag over to Iraq, would they have all of the Great War doctrines researched? I think not. Let's see. Whenever it, yeah, deigned itself to, yep, for example, they still have to research a lot of these. And that's just kind of nice because, of course, means that some countries just can't become as advanced of a military as, for example, the United States or the Soviet Union or Germany in just a few years of decent, good management by the player. So overall, giving a little bit more of a disadvantage to countries that are really supposed to have a disadvantage. I like that overall. Pretty nice. Then they, of course, changed around the map some ways, and overall, just pretty okay. More different templates for historical templates, and overall, I guess they added a new unit type, which is the Seaplane Tender. I like that. I like Seaplane Tenders, they're kind of cool. And a few name changes for places and, you know, things, obviously just random localization. And a few national focuses got reworked. For example, if we go ahead and look at the Germans, for example, around Maginot, you also have some... Wait, no. Well, I thought this was there, but appears like it wasn't. Anyway, so there's more things for these. Overall, yeah. Then, of course, I mean, there's all of this stuff, but Have they added anything new when it comes to unique units to not the Germans? Looks like it's pretty much still the same for the Soviet Tank Corps. I mean, they could have done a little bit more of a better job with this. Yeah, I mean, at least giving it decent descriptions and titles would have been nice. Do the Brits have something cool? Please tell me that they have Hobart's Funnies. They don't have Hobart's Funnies. And they have... No, this is just from the standard game. So the Brits still do not have unique units. That's just... Still kind of dislike that. The Americans... I believe the Americans had, like, Rangers. For example, what I would have loved to see is this first Special Force Service Force. Because it's actually a really cool unit. That's actually going to come to Steel Division, I believe. So, should do something about that. Fort Bragg paratrooper training. Looks like they reworked some things about the oh, what the hell? That's a lot of manpower. Still, I mean, the Americans don't really need manpower. Yeah, overall, it just seems like they didn't add unique units to some of these. Just kind of sad. I mean, the unique units are one of the things that I really liked of Black Ice. Yeah, it just does not seem like they did any of that. That's just kind of sad, you know? Maybe China's got something? I don't know. Oh, China's got a focus tree. What focus tree is this one? I think it's the Chinese focus tree one. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Overturn the unequal treaties. Yeah, some of these are fine, of course. Yeah, which one was I trying to see? Maybe Italy and France have something? Nope. Nope overall. What does France have? War effort law. Well, France has a new focus tree overall, it seems like. Yeah, this just seems like a different one over. Oh, right. This is... Right. I know what this is. They also actually integrated this with the new ideology. So, for example, in the original one, original mod for this focus tree, I don't remember what it's called. Support Daladier just gives you Daladier as a head of state, and support Bloom just gives you Bloom as a head of state. Because, of course, this would be Popular Front, and this would be... what was that party called? The Republican Party? I think it's... Well, it's basically the Republican Party. The French Republican Party, of course, not the American one. And, yeah, you just change leader and get a few different bonuses and malices. But here, of course, you have the right-winger with more liberalism, and then you have the left-winger with more socialism. So I like that. 100% good. And looks like you also have fascism that can be either pro-German or anti-German. I like that. I really like that because overall, fascism equals pro-Germany is just a thing that kind of pisses me off about Hearts of Iron 4 in general. And they also have, of course, Action Française, which is monarchist, really now. Sure, I guess. Yeah, overall, I guess they did change around France a little bit more. They still don't get a lot of unique templates and such, which is sad. What about Poland? Did Poland get anything cool? Well, that's a lot of industry. That's a lot more industry for the Germans and the Soviets once they invade. Overall, it seems like the political is... They have more intermarium stuff. That's cool. I like that. Poland tries to subjugate Hungary, and then Zagreb summit to get Yugoslavia on your side. I like that. I like that. Some of the intermarium projects actually included from Estonia to Italy. Like, throughout this entire area, a big-ass alliance. So I like that they actually go towards Yugoslavia as well. Yeah, overall pretty good. Pretty good. I like that. I like that a lot. So to summarize, lots of good things, a few bad things that are actually really bad. I am going to play a little bit of Black Ice just to try it out. Maybe with one of the minor nations like Chaz Turkey, because I don't think I ever played Turkey. If you have any suggestions, of course, the comment section down below is very much open. And yeah, this run. Aw, oh, damn it. Damn it, they didn't put in a Ron focus tree. So overall, I am going to try to play a little bit more, although the priority for now will also be releasing some stuff for, whatchamacallit, Asia Realism mod, because I like that. It's really good. So I will do a playthrough as China with that, but then I'll try to also release some videos of Black Ice as well, just to see how it's changed in actual gameplay, because of course, well, that's where the ultimate test of anything is. So I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this Black Ice Spotlight. Of course, the link will be in the description, and the credit for the mod, of course, goes to the Black Ice developers. There's too many of them to credit directly, but hey, just know that you're all thanked, despite the fact that I, criticize you all the time. Anyway, I want to thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you'll try it out, and I'll see you soon.